Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I have a super exciting episode for you because we have Alicia Crowder from Tell Me Lies, who plays Diana, and I'm also here with Gabriella. So, today, we're just going to chat all things Tell Me Lies, behind the scenes, fan moments, especially to that season three finale. We got to talk about that. But I kind of just want to jump right into your journey playing Diana. Was there anything in that script that said to you 100% I'm playing this character?
It's so funny because, when I first auditioned for it, I that was my job was auditioning. And so I would have maybe like four or five. This was back in 2021. So we were still like deep in COVID. I hadn't worked for 2 years. Like it was like a rough time for the world and, especially for actors because, we have to be in person to do what we're doing. So honestly, I read the script. I loved it. I've talked about this before, but I keep a list of TV shows and movies after I audition for them that I really like that, even if I don't get cast, I'm like, okay, I want to make note of this so I can know to look out for it for when it comes out. And Tell Me Lies was one of those. But I really like the script. I like the character, but it was really just, I was like, okay, because as an actor, you can't, or for me, I can't ever get too invested. I can't ever really get really obsessed with something because you never know what you're gonna if you're gonna get it or not. And like rejection is so much of the job that you really have to like put all you can into it, work on it really hard, do your best, and then kind of forget about it. And that's kind of what I did until I got a call that I got a call back, and then I got another call back, and then I think maybe one more. And so at that point, I was really, really, really invested and like really excited about it once it had gotten like that far in the process. Um, but as far as the character, like Diana and I are very different, but I really admire like her ambition and confidence. Um, and so that's something that I related to a lot. So I feel so lucky to have been able to play her for, 3 seasons over the course of 5 years. It's been, yeah, really special.
You played her very, very well, especially because I was saying to Gabriella earlier, Diana doesn't have much of a focus in the book. And I was disappointed by that because when I was reading the book, I was like, I really like her character. So when we were introduced to you in season one and just the amplification of you being in the presence of Stephen, I really liked that on screen. But playing the dynamic with Stephen and Lucy, I am very curious mentally how you tap into that because you say that you're very different from Diana. Tapping into a girl with the mindset of Diana, what did that look like for you?
Far as her relationship with Steven, it's always like a cat and mouse. It's always like a power play. And that's like a part of the fun that they have because like their entire relationship wasn't bad, like they were together for like since freshman year, and so they had a lot of times that were good, and they're both extremely smart and extremely driven, and it's kind of that fun that like positive competition that you can have with like friends or like a classmate. And they really pushed and like encouraged each other to like do and like be better. And it's kind of that like fun like rivalry. So I think that like that was definitely their connection. And I think that it's a foil to Stephen and Lucy's dynamic because for them it was always very clear that like Stephen was kind of the more dominant one, and like that was kind of like how their relationship played out. So I think it also acts as like kind of like the op like being able to see like what it looks like to be in like an opposite relationship from that.
Yeah,
Big Gossip Girl fan. And I think
Oh,
one of my favorite things about watching Tell Me Lies is that there were a lot of parallels in a lot of these relationships. And Steven very much did feel like the Chuck Bass, the like diabolical one, so planned. And I kind of love that Diana and Steven did parallel Blair and Chuck a lot because it was that level of we're at each other's level of manipulation. We can outsmart each other if we choose to go there. Like this will be a real battle. And I also feel like Lucy and Steven kind of had a parallel to Jenny Humphrey and Chuck. It was like a power balance where we're using her, we're not using her. It's to get back at Blair. It's to get like, and I genuinely that was like one of my favorite things to watch as these seasons unfolded because I was like, it truly is that Chuck and Blair, we are at the same gameplay level, and if we take
Right.
it there, you don't know who's gonna reign. You don't know who's gonna win. It's anyone's guess. So I love that dynamic between the two of them.
So I didn't really watch Gossip Girl that much. Like I didn't follow it like that. But that's so interesting, and I think that's really cool. Someone's got to like make like a video about that or something. Like
No,
We need an
she's
edit.
spot on
Yeah.
with
yeah,
that.
that's
Gabriella's
so
spot
cool. I
on with
love
that.
that.
If you were to like probably type that into TikTok, it would be a thing.
Right. Yeah.
100.
Someone's already made a video about it.
Someone's made a video. That kind of actually brings me into another question. I wrote it down here because I really wanted to know your perspective. I find Diana to be a very controlled character, not by other people. She has a very good mentality of controlling what she wants in her life. But for you, do you view that as like more as a superpower for her or an armor she's like built over herself?
I think it's both. I think everyone's personality is a result of like their survival mechanism. And I think that she has learned how to survive and navigate throughout the world by being very planned, being very methodical, really taking her time to think about things. I think Diana and Lucy are foils, where Lucy is like, you see her be really impulsive and like really like not think about the long-term consequences, whereas Diana is the exact opposite. And she, like Steven, is always trying to think 10 steps ahead. So I think it's both. And she kind of uses that as a way to create distance between other people because I think, and you see that with her and Pippa.
Yes.
The breakup I think comes from Diana being triggered from their relationship turning into what she thinks is similar to like her and Steven's relationship. And I think that she gets really scared by that and like she puts up that wall. But at the same time, I think that like it helps her whenever like in season 2 when she, goes about the elaborate ruse of lying about the LSAT scores and all of that, like that is really the only way that she was able to get out like as unharmed as possible because there's always repercussions. Like with someone like Steven, like you're never gonna fully get away without like suffering any kind of consequences. But I think that like
Right.
she did the best that she could because of that, kind of thinking ahead, that mentality.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think one thing that really shocked a lot of people, you mentioned it, was the season 2 moment of Diana and all of us knowing and finding out that the LSAT and everything to do with the credit cards were a lie. When you read that or when that was presented to you, what was your reaction? I have to know.
Well, it was amazing, and it was so much fun to play that throughout the season. But it's something that it was something that I really tried to understand. I was trying to understand what, because when I first read the script, it wasn't clear to me, like, why is she doing this? Like, why is she going through months and months of continuing this relationship with someone who she knows is a very dangerous person? Like, why not just break it up? Like, why do this whole elaborate ruse? And it's something that I talked with Megan Oppenheimer, a writer, a lot about, and that like Diana like knows Steven so well and knows that like this is the only way to try and like detangle herself from the situation. But it's something that I kind of struggled and like wrestled with a bit was justifying that because I think as an actor you're always trying to really make sense of your character's decisions. And I think that if you don't really get inside of it and don't really understand the motivation, it can be hard to do that. So I worked a lot on that. That was something I kind of struggled with. I worked a lot on that. But then once I got it, I was like, okay, here we go. And it was so much fun.
Think for me, Diana, that moment with Diana was kind of the turning point of the character as a whole. Because
Mhm.
even when we went into season 1 and we were watching all of these insane personalities, these insane walks of life kind of just all clash in the worst ways, it was
Mhm.
very difficult to like any singular character because these people were making the worst decisions they could possibly make. And granted, they were in college, but this was just so different. I think by season two, though, when Diana did make that decision, it was almost like, wait, someone in this group is smarter than the rest of them. Someone is paying attention here. And I remember like during the season, I was like thread on threads and I'm like, we need to talk about how Diana is the only one here with a working brain at this college because
Yeah.
genuinely they're all making horrible decisions. And on the outside, this may look crazy, but it was the smartest possible play. She was
Right.
finally ahead of Steven, which no one else had really achieved up until that point. So that
Yeah.
for me was the turning point of the character. Like I was team Diana going through. I was like, I just need her to find happiness. I want her to
Yeah.
get into any school she wants.
Yeah.
Like this is genius.
I think it's important when every single character is like making the worst decision possible, but that's television, like that's
Yeah.
entertainment, like that's what people like to see is people fuck up. But it
Exactly.
is refreshing to have one person be like removed from that, and I just got lucky that that's how they wrote her. So yeah, but it was nice like feeling the love from the internet from that. It was
Hell
nice.
yeah, we were all team Diana. It was like
Everyone.
everyone was like, "Oh, somebody has woken up.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna get out of here unscathed and might survive this friend group for real." And I also think that with watching Lucy with the continuous back and forth, I think we were all exhausted, and it felt like a lot of the conversations were like, "Will anybody here ever make one good decision?"
Right.
One educated decision. Will it ever happen? And I feel like Diana was the relief for us that we all
Yes.
needed because without the relief, I think it just would have been a very,
It's
very
a hard
angry
watch.
fan base.
Yeah.
And we were all exhausted. I know for
Right.
me, I had to take breaks. I was like, I don't know how many bad decisions we can do today. I think we're gonna have to take a moment. We'll be back tomorrow
Yeah.
for another
Yeah.
episode.
It's a lot. It's a lot to just watch someone fail over and over and over again. It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, season three was a lot to review and recap. Like the conversations online with fans got crazy throughout
Mhm.
season three, but more specifically with your character, there was a lot more love. And I'm always curious on an actor's side what it's like to get so much hate about a character you're just playing. Like I'm just playing Diana, I'm not her. But season three, you had so much love. So it's such like a shift for you. And I'm just curious how
Yeah.
that felt for you.
Season one, I think that people didn't like her, but also there wasn't as much conversation online about the show as there was for season three. So, but I kind of understood, like, I'm not someone who really like takes that kind of thing personally. Like, I think that when people see me and they see me on the street, they probably see me as Diana, but like, I really understand that like we're two separate people, so I don't really take anything personally. Um, I think, and I think it can maybe be hard for people, but I think most actors, and especially like all the actors on the show, like we have a really good, it's important to like have a good sense of self, and like a good family and like friends and support system around you to like kind of ground you at the end of the day. The love was amazing and it's so sweet. I really enjoyed this season because you got to see again kind of like the refreshing, like wholesome relationship that Diana and Pippa have that are so different than like every other relationship in the show. So like selfishly, I just like really enjoyed, I just really, really enjoyed that. But sometimes you just get lucky. Like I don't like as an actor, I didn't have any control over how my character was written, and I just got lucky that like this was the path that the writers decided that she was going to take. So it was really sweet, all the love. And I love interacting with fans. I love reading all of the fan theories. That's one of my favorite parts, honestly.
Oh
Like
my God.
it's awesome.
What
Like that's what I like love to look at on TikTok is like what people are think is gonna like happen. That's so much fun.
was
Love
like
that.
the craziest theory that you came across that you remember?
Oh God, that Oliver was Bree's dad. That was a lot. I saw that a lot, and I was just like, y'all, like this is not Game of Thrones. Like this
Yeah.
Literally.
and like because the show is so crazy, like I don't necessarily know if it was like complete, like that would have never happened, but I was just like, you guys, like that was too like that
That
was
was
too
crazy.
far.
We were talking
It's
about this. We're like,
funny.
this was
We have
where
to
are
address this.
we? The Game
Right.
of
Yeah.
Thrones reference was
Right.
immediately my thing. I was like,
Right.
guys, we're not in Westeros. Like we're
Right.
not doing that here. They're in
Right.
college. They're just drunk and making mistakes. I don't
Right.
think we're gonna get to dad
Like,
is sleeping with daughter. I think it's too
right.
far.
It's a
And
Yeah.
bit
some of
too,
the theories
yeah.
made sense.
Some
Like
Right.
some of them did. Like the Lydia and Stephen, I think those theories were kind of I was following a lot of those of like Lydia and Stephen have been working together the whole time
Yeah.
and to turn on Lucy and that I was running with and then we started getting crazier and crazier and I was like I don't
Right.
we gotta we gotta back it up. We
Right.
gotta
But
slow
that
down.
turned out, yeah, that turned out to be true. And you only get like one line, like acknowledging that at the wedding of Stephen being like, oh, we only got together to like mess with Lucy. But I know
Yes.
that was a lot of people were curious about that too. And I think that like I saw a lot of theories that like, Diana was going to be like building a case against Stephen to like put him in
Yes.
jail, which I would have like, which I think really would have been fun to see. But, and I bet you have questions about the ending, but I think the ending, it brought so much of that like reality of like bad people get
Get
away
away
with
with it.
doing bad things, and there's
Absolutely.
not always justice, unfortunately. And like, how do you deal with that? Like, how do we, as women and like as a society, like deal with that and like try and like heal ourselves when, the world isn't doing it for us?
Absolutely. I think too with that, when you approach those types of storylines and you carry them on screen, how you deliver them as an actress is really important. And I do want to applaud you for that because every single thing that you approached, specifically this season with a heavier storyline, was very, very well done. Really, really well done. And with these fan theories being as crazy as they were, I think a lot of people were hoping for specific things, but on my end, I think I was satisfied with the way Megan Oppenheimer placed all of you into your endings is kind of a way to show you that people that do good in the end and are honest about things will find their better way in life. And Steven was never honest. So what was his happy ending going to be? Never.
Right.
Not a thing.
Right.
Not a thing
Exactly.
for him.
Right.
We
One of my favorite things with the fans, though, while the season was happening, was a lot of women getting online and sharing their Steven stories. And
Hmm.
that for me was like huge because I think there was kind of just like this realization that no matter what walk of life you've come from, as especially as a woman, you have encountered a Steven of some sort in your life. And it was just all these girls sharing these stories. And I just thought it was so sweet because I was like, there is a generation of women that will find these comments and be like, wait, so you all got out, you survived, like you realized it was bad for you, you realized this person was terrible for you, you may have gotten him back or whatever you did, but
Hmm.
you got out. And I think that was one of my favorite parts because I think as incredibly frustrating as it was watching Lucy season after season, there was just this wildly real feeling of saying like we have all been there, maybe not to this extent, dealt with
Right.
us even this bad, but we've dealt with one in our lives, whether we like to admit it or not, and we just
Yeah.
don't all deal with it the same way. And I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of the show is showing that side because all of the women in the show were so powerful in their own right and in their own way. Just like Diana going into the Planned Parenthood, I think is one of the most significant television scenes that we have seen in a very long time. And I stand by it being one of the most important in this show as a
Yeah.
whole, just because of how you dealt with it, like how Diana dealt with making that decision. It wasn't this miserable, sad, crying side of it. It was an
Right.
entirely different side that we don't get to see in media often of this is my decision. I'm happy with my decision. I'm going to smile while I make it because I have a whole entire life to live that I'm so excited to get to. And I want to
Mhm.
know more of like your process on that and like reading that scene and how you walked into that.
So that was another one that I really, really made sure to take the time to understand. Because on the page, it seems very straightforward, like this is her decision and she makes it. But I really wanted to give her justice and all the women who are watching it to like really put in the time and work that it takes to like get inside of that and to like really understand that. But Megan was really clear from the beginning, like, this is the story that we're telling. Like, it's not an emotional decision. Because that's what you see most of the time on TV is that like, oh my, like there's all this guilt and like there's like all
Yeah.
these things wrapped up into it. And like again, it is a complicated thing, even for Diana, like even for someone who like knew the second she saw that pregnancy test, she knew immediately, like, no, like I'm gonna make the decision I'm gonna make. But it's also I don't know that like it's also complicated. Like it's also something that she didn't want to have to go through. And I think it's also like it brought Steven back into her life in a really upsetting way. And it disrupted her relationship with Pippa. And it was this thing that like she had to deal with and had ripple effects in her life. But it's also like you said, it's like a story or like a perspective that I've never seen on television before of a young woman being like, this is my decision, this is what it is. It's black and white, because she does have her entire life and an amazing life ahead of her. Um, and like she wasn't going to let anything get in the way of that. So it was really empowering. I hope that like I made people proud and that like represented that
Hell
story.
yeah.
And because
Yeah,
it is such like
definitely.
it is such a delicate uh kind of personal thing. So yeah, I really tried to do my best and it is like a big like I think that even though for Diana, it was very straightforward. Like, this is what's happening. It's still a big deal. Like,
Yeah.
it's still a moment in her life, depending on what she decided to do, could have changed her life forever. And I think that that has gravity and like weight to it, even though the decision was very clear. So it's a bit it's complicated, you know?
Yeah, I feel like approaching a subject matter like that for anyone, especially reading it in a script, like you said, it's on
Mhm.
paper, but delivering that, and especially without losing the essence of Diana's personality, because
Mhm.
if they were to write in a really sad storyline, it's what we
Right.
see in media. Like randomly,
Right.
this character's persona is completely different. And if that I feel as though wasn't the route for Diana, I don't know how the audience would have reacted, but the audience reacted beautifully to that storyline. And I think that's a really good thing as well. Because those subject matters, how they go about online after they're aired, who
Yeah.
knows? But that was a good one.
I was really nervous about that. I was like, oh my God, like, because it's such a controversial thing that people have
Yes.
really strong opinions about. And I've gotten a couple comments here and there that, they were like, I didn't like this, it was offensive or whatever. But for the most part, it was like overwhelmingly positive, which
Yeah,
I didn't expect.
absolutely.
And I was really, really relieved about that.
It also was very much giving this is Diana's decision. This isn't
Right.
everybody else's decision. We don't
Mhm.
need Steven's input. And I also
Yeah.
think it was kind of interesting how Diana's decision and this situation with Diana and Steven also kind of led the audience into changing their view on Wrigley because of Wrigley's response to it, which I thought was
Mhm.
incredibly interesting as well. Because prior, I mean, we all kind of were like, Wrigley's like just the jock. He's been through a
Right.
lot. Yeah. And like we have felt bad for him, but it wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily like rooting for Wrigley. And then the second Diana made her decision, it almost felt like, wait, Wrigley is for the girls. Like
Right.
Wrigley gets it. And it
Mhm.
almost changed everyone's perspective on him too. So I just think it was beautifully done in the sense like this was Diana's choice. She made it. She didn't need everyone's input. She certainly didn't want everyone's input. The decision was made and it was hers to make. And that I think was like incredibly beautiful about it because it wasn't like she was going to anybody to be like, what should I do? Or no, I've made my
Right.
decision.
Yeah.
It's my body. I'll do with it what
Mhm.
I want. And I loved. And watching Steven, spiral out over not having any decision was even better because I
Right.
was like, that is
Right.
what you've deserved. You have
Yep.
no rights here. Like,
Right.
and I love that. I love seeing it. I love the conversations around it. And from what I saw, it was like just so many girls happy to see that play out the way it did
No.
instead of the regular, like, it's
Yeah.
sad, it's crying, it's
Right.
miserable, it's
Yeah, for
I'm gonna
sure.
linger in this misery for a
Right.
while. Like, that was definitely different. I would say the last time I saw something like that was probably like Manny Santos and Degrassi, like when she made her
Oh, wow,
decision.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
that was very much like, nope, I'm making my decision. Like, I'm a
Right.
kid and I don't want to do this. And
yeah, that's
that
well.
was probably the last time I saw anything that was even parallel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very true, actually. It's especially with how big Tell Me Lies got. I'm very
Mm.
glad that Megan Oppenheimer, I hope she continues to write many shows because the route that she went with that is very, very smart. The way people responded to Lucy and Steven, to be honest, was very concerning. And I want to know from your perspective, this was a huge debate. Lucy is just as bad as Steven. Do you agree with that or not?
No, 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 not at all. And I'm always so curious. And like I'm so inside of it, so my
Yeah.
view of it is very biased, but and I see people say that all the time and I don't really get why. I
Me
think that what
neither.
the end result of their decisions a lot of the times ends up but they're both bad. And I think that like this is the big discussion about intention versus impact. And I think that some people would argue it doesn't matter what your intention is. If you hurt people around you, you hurt people around you. And I agree with that to some extent, but I truly don't think that Lucy ever has a bad intention. I think that she is incredibly impulsive and that is her downfall, but like there's no way, like I don't think that they're anywhere near being on the same level of like evil, honestly,
Completely agree.
because I think that like Lucy does really care about her friends. But she's again one of those girls who gets so caught up in a relationship and like that becomes her priority, but I don't think
Right.
that she ever sets out to unless except like with Steven, like she doesn't ever set out to hurt people. Um, Even though unfortunately like with her situation with Chris and like saying that the assault happened to her instead of Pippa
Right.
and then the video and like sleeping with Evan. Like I think that that is maybe the one thing that was like, okay, no, that was black. Like obviously like you shouldn't have done that. But at the same
Yes.
time, like she was drunk, but like even when people get drunk, you're not sleeping with your friend's boyfriend,
Yeah.
like it's not like a
I'm not out
big
here doing that.
right, so like I think that's the one example of like, okay, no, like that was like she was being selfish and like whatever in that moment. But no, I really don't think, what do you guys think? I don't know.
I
I
argued for Lucy because I believe that up and other than the Evan situation, which to me wasn't even like inherently evil, it was just absolutely ridiculous and stupid, like very much thinking of yourself in that moment.
Right.
But I argued for Lucy because she genuinely wanted so deeply to be there for everyone around her, but she did not have the skill set to do so. And it just all went wrong at all times. And even towards the end of season 3, when she got kicked out of school, I was like, okay, but now I'm mad at Pippa because she she was trying.
yeah.
She didn't know how to protect you, but this
Mm,
was Lucy's very disheveled way of trying to protect you, trying to help you, and then watching her get kicked out of school and not jumping in. And like maybe you didn't want to come forth with the fact that it was you, but maybe to say she's not lying, it's about another friend, whatever it would have been.
right.
It just felt like she was definitely trying her hardest to protect her friends, even from her relationship with Steven. She went to great lengths to try and get Steven away from Bree to tell Bree about the Evan situation because she was more concerned with Bree's feelings than her own well-being. So
Yeah.
I think she genuinely was not evil. I think she wanted to be a good friend, but I just think it all was so rooted in chaos that she never was given the right skill set to be there in correct ways. So it was just all funneling out all wrong.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's the I don't know, that's the like the tragedy. That's the tragic part of it where it's like and you see this in like I think about like Shakespeare, like classical works, like classical plays and movies and stories. It's
Like
like
period pieces.
right, exactly. And like Greek like things where it's like no matter what a character does, they are doomed to fail, And like that's the story. Like that is their fate almost in a way. And I think that unfortunately like that is Lucy like in that she represents those kinds of people that like no matter like what you do it's just going to turn out wrong because you don't have the skill set for
Yeah.
whatever reason you weren't taught it like you didn't have good examples in your life like it's just not inherent like to your personality like yeah, it's just gonna go badly. And she
Yeah.
tries. I think she really does try.
He did really try. I
Yeah,
think
she
that's
tried.
what's the hardest thing to watch. A lot of the recaps I tried to do were like psychological breakdown, like moments even between like
Mm.
you and Steven and between you and Pippa, because I really was Team Diana when you were like, I'm not being told what to do again. When she was like, you're gonna leave me for school. Those moments people were very confused by. And I'm like, no, because Diana has been through this with Steven, and the thought of Pippa even mentioning any sort of "I don't want you to do something," no,
Mm.
she's not doing it. Like
Right.
so with Lucy, I saw that so much through her, but she couldn't do it. She couldn't put her foot down. But someone like you with Diana's character, I think that's why people fell in love with her very much by the end of it, because with you, you had your happy ending. And you ultimately helped Lucy realize what she needed to do. That conversation between the two of you in the dorm, I want to know what that was like for you to read about because that's a beautiful, one of my top like three favorite scenes is between you two in the dorm. It's beautiful.
It was, I mean, all of those moments with Lucy this season were really special. And again, something that you don't see a lot in television is women coming together and not making each other enemies, like not blaming each other. Like, no, we aren't the bad ones. It's this like horrible guy that we've both been like, entangled with. And I think that like Diana finally like realizes that like Lucy's actually a victim in the same like a victim to like this bad behavior in like the same way that she was and they bond over that,
Yeah.
kind of a trauma bond if you will. But it was really nice. Like I really again I loved seeing women come together and like not be pitted against each other. Like that's something that's always really refreshing for me to see, but I don't think that like she ever took her advice. I don't think that like Diana was really like ever able to like get through to her because like even at the wedding, you still see that like she's like still having sex with Steven and still like
Yes.
communicating with him and like just doing all this like crazy shit that you're like, girl, like you have to like let it go. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that like in a way Lucy maybe can like convinces herself like, oh, like I'm like, I'm like one-upping him or like I'm, whatever with him. But like, no, it's like you are
You're
still,
not.
you're hurting yourself in attempt to like hurt him,
A
Absolutely.
very spiteful game where no one wins at
Yes.
Right,
all.
Well
exactly.
said.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
funny because this show, I am a very big reality television watcher. I am a very big Vanderpump Rules person. And what's funny is while you're watching this show, the parallels to Vanderpump Rules are just something so fierce. And even towards the end, like in Vanderpump Rules, you had a lot of the girls that were dating the same guys, or this one was in a relationship with him for 2 years, and then somebody else is in a relationship with him for 10 years. And I think what's so beautiful about even that, and it's rooted in reality, is that at some point those men do something so vicious that is you cannot return from, and those women band together like Marvel Avengers. They all come together in one house and they're like, we found our Thanos, we have found our enemy, let's take them down together, join hands now, ladies. Like, and I just think it's so funny while I watch Tell Me Lies, I'm like, but this is so Stassi and Jax. And then you would have Kristen enter the picture, and Kristen's with, slept with Jax. Now they're at war. But by the
Yeah. The
end,
parallels.
they all band together and realize the enemy is the guy in the room. And it's always so refreshing to watch. And we've gone through so many scandals in the Bravo universe, and every single time it ends pretty much the same way. And it's always the ex-girlfriend finds the new girlfriend and the girl that he's cheating on. They all band together and they're like, so we have all agreed now. It wasn't us. It was
Right.
always
Yes.
him.
And those are
Right.
those are not common on like scripted
Yeah.
television. Like I was saying
Yeah.
to Gabriella earlier, one of my favorite shows ever is Shameless, and the character
Mhm.
Fiona Gallagher is very much like I'm not going to be a mom. And then they wrote in this really like tragic, guilty, should I have done that? I'm like, no, no, this is not good
Yeah.
for her character. There's just like
I know.
so many fights between her and girls too. I'm like, seeing this Tell Me Lies finale was so refreshing. So many scenes in this show were so refreshing. But in regards to Lucy's ending, people had like their own interpretation of it. Me, I thought unfortunately Lucy was a silly little girl. She got in the car and she thought they were going to ride off into paradise. And I think her laughing was her being like, I fooled myself. But I want to know what you took from her ending because I feel like it was open.
Yo, it was definitely open, and I think that
Yeah.
that was like the brilliance of the writing. And I've talked about this a lot in interviews, but like the way that it was written, it was very different. It was not written that she laughed at the end, and I think that I think that it was just like a choice that either Grace or the director likes, because whenever we shoot scenes, we do it like a few different ways, and I think that keeping that version where she's laughing is completely changes the story because she gets in the car, and I think that like after the shit show of the wedding, it's just like I think that Lucy thinks no matter, like, I don't think that she, unfortunately, because like Bree is like, if you don't go with him, we can recover this friendship. And I think that ultimately Lucy does not believe that. I just don't think that she buys that. I don't think that she can't allow herself to believe that. And so I think that she thinks, okay, whether I go with him or not, all of my relationships are ruined. So she
Yeah.
thinks, why not? Like, he convinces her. She's clearly still so, it's like that guy who, like, no matter what, you will be in love with him, no matter what. Like, even if you're with someone else, even if you move on, like, there's still a part of you that, like, he like has a grip on,
Absolutely.
but I think that she also knows in the back of her mind that there's always the potential for him to flip on her. And I don't know, I think that there's a version where like in an alternate where because we don't know what happens after he drives off. I think there's
No.
a version in it where he comes back. He like circles the block and he's like,
Oh,
just
my
kidding,
version, he like crashed into an 18-wheeler and didn't make it.
That version was
I
gone.
went to
He
bed
blew
after the
up.
finale and I was like, Steven drove off a bridge. It was so
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
That was
It's
so
that's a
wonderful.
comforting thought for
I think
sure.
you had made a TikTok, Alicia, and it was like POV when Steven's still alive at the end of the show or something. It's like
Right,
that's not
yes.
what fans want to see.
Really, it's really not. It's really not. But like,
But
I think
shout
that,
out to him. He plays it well. He does
oh, he's
100%. He plays
oh
it
my God.
very
Yeah.
well.
Jackson's amazing. And I like something he started doing in season two a lot was like he started saying the lines in like kind of a funny way. Like I was watching it back, like laughing because it's so ridiculous. Like it's so
He does make me laugh,
crazy.
unfortunately.
Like I know, like it's funny. Like you see someone just being like just so extreme and evil and crazy that you're like, this is absurd. Like it's absurd.
It is,
Um,
yes.
but I think that like Lucy laughing at the end ultimately is a positive thing for her. You see that she's not shattered, like there's a self-awareness in that moment that I think that we haven't had Lucy have before.
Yeah.
And that payoff, I think, is satisfying in a way. But yeah, it's like I think that if the show kept going, they would get back together. Like she would track him down or he would track her down or text her, like that, like
Absolutely, yeah.
For
that's
sure.
not the end for them,
No.
Like I truly believe that characters continue to exist even after
Oh, they do.
the camera stopped rolling. And I think that like in this, Tell Me Lies world, they get back together at some point. It's like gonna unfortunately be like a lifelong until one of them dies, like it's gonna be a back and forth,
That's
I
why we
did.
needed Steven's ending to be that way.
Right.
Right,
That's why
yes.
I rewrote Steven. I was like, oh my
Right.
God, he just
Yeah.
flew off a bridge so randomly.
Yeah.
I actually, after the finale, because I was seething, because there was no, there was absolutely no consequence for Steven, I went
Right.
back to watch Leo just do a number. And I was like,
Yeah.
let me make myself feel better about it.
Right.
I'm gonna watch this back. And I,
That's
I did the
hilarious.
same thing
Yeah.
with Euphoria at the end of a season. I remember Nate Jacobs was still around. And I was like, we're gonna go back to when Fezco took him out for a minute.
Right.
I'm gonna pretend this was the
Such a
last
good
moment we
scene.
saw
Right.
this character. Like this is the last visual I will have of you.
Right. Of
So
him, yeah.
I was definitely seething, but I
Mm.
also feel like it, just like you said, Alicia, like these two characters, like I don't think in any world there was a way to separate them forever. I
Yeah.
just, the fact that any of this group was friends after college shocked me
Mm.
to my core to begin. I was
Me
like, so
too.
no one cut Steven off. Okay, cool.
Right.
So He ruined your lives and we're still inviting him to weddings.
Right, I know, I know.
Choice.
It's
That
like
was
one of
a
those
choice.
moments where you need to have like a little bit of suspension of disbelief, where it's like,
Yes.
okay, like I'm just gonna have to accept that all of these people 8 years later are still like in a room together, because you're kind of like,
Still
what's
friends.
Crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Still
Like
sharing
when,
things, still leaving their phones unlocked around Steven. I'm like, we've
Right,
oh
learned
my God.
nothing. We've learned nothing in college. Returned your degrees.
Return
right,
your
I know.
degrees.
Yeah,
Seriously. I think honestly that, yeah, I made a whole TikTok about that and people were like, well, some people don't grow. I'm like, I wanted them to grow. I needed
yeah,
them to grow because
yeah.
when fans watched, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, when they first showed you and Pippa, is that the end of season 1 or 2? Is it 2?
When they first
I
showed us
believe.
together,
Yes, and
it's the beginning of season
season
two.
two.
Yeah.
Perfect. Because Gabriella and I were curious when you and Pippa have that conversation where Pippa says they were both there. Was that about Lucy and Steven or Steven and Lydia?
It was about Lucy and Steven because
Okay, because fans were curious.
I also had that question when I was reading the script because like it doesn't, and like when we were doing the scene, it was just me and Sonia there. So we were like, I was like, who are we talking about? And they were like, you're talking about Lucy and Steven,
Okay.
because at that point, Pippa has a really strained relationship with Lucy as well. Like
Yes.
they're not
It's
like
so
best friends,
strange. The relationships with them around the wedding was so everything was so awkward. Like
Yes.
even the Brie and Wrigley stuff, I'm like, why are you calling her on private? She doesn't have your like what is
Right.
going on? Can
Yeah, the
everyone
private
just can we
number.
get back in a room? So by the time we got to the wedding and they're throwing cakes and yelling, I'm like, you know what?
Right.
Let him kick and scream. I think we need
Right.
this because I don't understand why we're even friends. Why did
Right.
we get invited to the wedding? Why are we here?
Right.
Why
It's
is there a
like,
wedding?
yeah,
Why is there a wedding?
it's kind of crazy. And like the fact that like, but I think that that's like another part that I haven't seen many people talk about is like Bree making the decision to stay with Evan even though he's cheated on her. And I think that that's a reality for a lot of women. It's like,
Oh
no,
yeah.
I'm making this, even with this guy who hurt me. And I think that Evan is legitimately like very sorry. I think he actually really does regret doing
Yeah,
that.
he was
Um,
remorseful, I
Yeah, he was
think.
remorseful for sure.
and she's like, she makes a decision of like, this is the safe, easy choice. And I think that that's really I've seen a lot of women make that decision. And then like her and Wrigley like having sex at the engagement party was nuts. Like we didn't know that we didn't know that that was happening in like the previous seasons. Like that was something that, Megan like wrote in season 3. So it's just messy, but like we love mess. Like that's why
Yeah,
people
we
Yes,
love the
love
that
show,
show
mess.
is messy.
like
That show
like
is
that's what it
messy.
is. Yeah.
Yes.
The
The
messier the better,
Right,
honestly. At
especially
exactly.
this
the show
point,
with
like
Tommy
I
Lies.
was by the end of it, I was like, really, I was kind of happy because I was like, wait, Diana's happy. Wrigley
Yeah.
looks like he got his girl in the end.
We're
Right.
I'm
good.
gonna
Yeah.
call it a win, and I'm just gonna step back because I
Right.
can't.
Exactly.
Everyone's putting think pieces out about Steven. I'm like, yeah, I can't be.
We're not
He
worried
passed
about
away.
Steven.
Yeah.
We're not worried about him.
He passed away, actually. I decided.
Right.
So, but Wrigley's happy. Diana's doing great.
Everyone
Right.
wanted Wrigley and Diana to be happy. That's pretty much
Yeah.
my consensus because I had a lot of people like giving me their feedback about Tell Me Lies, and Wrigley and Diana were the top two of the season. That's for sure, which is so funny because Wrigley was decently hated those first 2 seasons, and
Right.
then he had a really well-written redemption arc. And I said that his whole growth as a character was really transformative. All of you guys had very transformative growth in this show. And I think that was one of the most mesmerizing parts to watch because when you center focus a show on a certain time period, I was
Mhm.
8 years old, if we're being for real, in 2008.
Oh,
So watching that as a 25-year-old now, but still seeing so much relevance to what I went through in
mhm.
2015, it's
Mhm.
very, very on point. And I think that's why so many people gravitated towards this show because it was actually relatable. You watch these shows and it's supposed to be relatable. This one was. This was
Yeah.
very relatable with
And I
the
think
way it
it's
was
because it
written.
shows like the ugliness of it
Yes.
all. Like
100%.
the messiness, the ugliness, like the bad decisions, good, like bad things happening to good people, which
Yes.
I think that like I think a lot of TV shies away from that because they don't because it's controversial, you know, like you want to see the good guy win,
Yes.
and I think that that isn't necessarily reflective of our lives, you know.
And also in
And
that year, I would have been entering high school in 2008. So like
mm,
I just feel like our representation of media of that time was the One Tree Hills, the Gossip Girls, like the
right.
Vampire Diaries, and it just felt like everything was Gossip Girl was like obviously they're all Upper East Side, they're super wealthy, but there was always kind of like a good guy and a bad guy and they all had a part to play and you kind of knew how this was going to unravel. One Tree Hill, they were like getting married in high school. Like it was just
Right.
absolute insanity. So when you got
Yeah.
to Tell Me Lies, even shows like Euphoria, I feel like can enter the conversation. It's like
Mm,
these are very real
Yes.
experiences that are very close to real life. And
mhm.
there aren't always happy endings. And these relationships don't usually last a lot of the time
No.
and people
Yeah.
can be both evil and good. So I thought
Right.
that was just beautifully encapsulated with Tell Me Lies. It is truly a work of art that I
It
think I'll
is.
always
Yeah.
go back to.
Me too.
That's such a great point, and something that makes me think about like what you said about like, you know, there being the like I think that like with, you know, Euphoria and Tell Me Lies that it breaks those archetypes. Like those archetypes are kind of shattered and like the characters are all very nuanced and there's like so much gray area.
Yes.
Um and I think that like that's what because human beings are complex, you know? Like everyone has a dark side, everyone has a good side, everyone has secrets. And kind of like putting that on full display, like showing all of the like the dirty, like ugly underbelly of it all, I think is something that is rare, but something that people want to see. Like people
Yes.
want to, you know, experience that. So I think, yeah, it's a really interesting point.
People do definitely want to see that, especially because sometimes with those old shows, you can go back to them as much as you want, but then the relevance of them doesn't hit as much anymore,
Right, yeah.
you know? But speaking of fictional shows, if you could place Diana into any other fictional world, where do you think she would thrive?
Ooh, maybe like Suits or
Ooh, that
like
is so smart.
Scandal would be really fun
I'm
too.
starting
Oh,
that for the
she would
first
have been
time this
great in
year. I'm
Scandal.
starting Scandal for the
Yeah,
first time.
I it's been a long time since I've watched those shows, but I think that like that's the world, like smart
You're
and kind
smart
of
for
like,
that.
you know, like
Like
Yes.
How to Get Away with
drama.
Murder. Like
Right,
she would have killed.
exactly.
I put
Like
you in
that.
Gossip Girl, and now I feel like I offended you.
No, 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 not at all. Not at all. Because I mean, Diana is like that girl. Like she's
She is that
preppy. She's
girl,
from New
like
York. Like she like that's like very much her like archetype.
for sure. I
Um,
pictured her in like Gossip Girl going to Yale, just like being a lawyer and just being that
right,
it girl, dominating Serena van der
right,
Woodsen, maybe teaming up with Blair Waldorf.
right, exactly.
That would
And
have
since
been good.
we're talking about television, this is a question that I love to ask at the end of interviews. What is your episode ever after? So an episode that you always go back to or you always think of. It doesn't have to be Tell Me Lies, it could be any show, something that
Um,
you just resonates with you and that you always, always think about.
so the television that I watch mostly comedies. The Office is my favorite show.
Hell
And I
yeah.
think that's like one of the best shows of all time. So like the first thing that comes into my head is the dinner party episode of The Office. I don't know, where like Michael and Jan have Pam and Jim and Dwight and Angela over for dinner and like she ends up smashing his mini TV like that episode is incredible. I like like my favorite shows of all time are like Arrested Development,
Oh yeah.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, The Office, like that's the kind of
Always
TV
Sunny is
like
so
yeah,
good.
it's so good. So like that stuff is kind of my favorite. But yeah, probably Dinner Party, The Office,
I
is
love
That
probably
is
my
so
that. I
favorite.
funny.
usually don't get comedy answers for that, I have to say. So I love that.
Oh,
Like I'm like,
really?
yes, comedy. Me, I'm like, I love the dark stuff. So I'm like, yeah, oh no, Euphoria season two when they're all
Right.
like when
See,
they're all in a party doing
I
terrible
like
things.
dark movies. Like
Yes.
my favorite kind of movie is like psychological thriller. Like Midsommar is my favorite movie. Like
Hell yeah.
Ari Aster, Yorgos Lanthimos, like those are my favorite directors. Like a very much an
Oh, you know your stuff,
A24.
girl.
Yeah,
Yes.
like that, like an A24 psychological thriller, like those are
Have
the
you seen the
movies I
drama
watch.
yet?
No, I haven't, but I'm so
Go
excited.
see it.
Go
It's
see
Is
the
so
it good?
drama.
good.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
it's
Okay.
amazing. Honestly, that was going to be my question for you because my beautiful friend here gave me that suggestion. So I was going to say to you what your number one rewatch is for film, but I guess it would be psychological thrillers.
Yeah, number one rewatch probably now is Midsommar. Like that is a movie I
Incredible
always
film.
go back to.
Incredible.
So,
The
so
no
good.
Oscar for Florence is crazy.
I know, but she's like amazing. It's kind of like it's kind of become like a cult classic, which I
Yes.
think
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of these like turn into.
I won't keep you any longer, Alicia, but to close out, if you can share anything with us that you're excited for in your next journey, if there is anything at all, because we want to see more of you, so we're very
Yeah.
excited for that.
Yeah, I'm working on some short films, which are gonna be
Oh
really, really
yeah.
fun. It's funny, like it's such a different thing, like after doing a TV show for so long to now be doing these like 10-minute, like 30-minute, like an hour, like things, like a project. So I'm really excited about that. So yeah, I'm working on something right now, which I have no clue like we haven't started filming yet.
Okay.
And I have no clue like when it's gonna be coming out. But it's a much more personal story for me that like reflects like my own life. And I didn't write it,
Oh,
it
I
just
love
like
that.
came across my desk. And
Okay.
sometimes you get those characters where like, oh, that's literally my life. So I'm really excited about that. Working on stuff with friends, reading a lot of scripts, like friends scripts, trying to get into producing a little bit. So like we'll see how that goes.
Hell
But
Okay.
yeah.
yeah, working on some fun stuff that I hope comes out like sooner rather than later, but you never know.
Amazing. Well, I hope we see more of you, and I want to thank you so much for sitting down with us. This was one of my favorite shows, and it feels really surreal to sit down with you. So thank you for taking the time. We really appreciate that
Yeah, I had so
very
much fun. You
much.
guys are so much fun to talk to. I
You
love this.
too,
I
100%.
loved it. No, you're the best. And if you ever need someone to meet you at Central Park and get coffee, you let me
I'll
know.
get
Yeah.
on a plane and I'll meet you
Yeah.
guys there.
Yeah. Totally. That'd be so much fun.
Oh my
Hell
God.
yeah. And I can't wait to see what you do next. I'm
Me
so
too.
excited.
Very
Thanks,
excited.
guys. Really appreciate you.
I appreciate you
Appreciate
for joining.
you.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.